Hi, Rebecca. Rebecca, can you just let me know if you could hear me? Great. Mal, I haven't been on for long as just a minute or two. I'm actually making Needle and Anchor's Beachcomber Clutch, and I pre-done a lot of this stuff a couple days ago, because I do have to make a few sets, and this is my first live video. So yesterday I went on to just test the visual and the sound and all of that, and had most of this stuff prepped already, but I'm just waiting for a few people to get on, and then I'll just explain where I'm at. Hi, Amy. I'm actually making this beachcomber in 3 sizes. I'm doing the original size, and then let me see if I remember what I printed it to. I think I printed one at like 70% or 75%, and then the smallest one is 45%. I found the smallest one is the most finicky when it comes to actually sewing it on the machine because it's so small. But I have a friend that I gave these to as a birthday gift, and she actually asked me to get a few sets done so that she can give as gifts. So I've got 3 going right now, and after I'm done with these, I'm going to try and make a few more sets in another color scheme and go from there. I am working in like a chain stitching, so I'm doing the same step for all 3 in each of the sizes. So right now I'm working on the medium one that I'm doing, and I'm attaching the first exterior side with the lining and the zipper, and I'm about to start on the second side of this. So let me explain where I am before I get myself confused. All right, so this is the first this is the first bag. What I did is attached all the pieces. Just follow Carissa's instructions, they're amazing. I did extra top stitching, and I am a quilter, so I do make quilts. So if you notice over here in the triangles, I actually mimicked the triangle shape. All right, let's see if you could see that. So the stitching is there, and then I have top stitching following the edge of that focal point, a focal piece of fabric, and then up here on the top banner. So there's top stitching here. This top stitching over here will happen in a little bit after I attach the zipper to both sides of each of the bags. I just do all the top stitching at once so I don't have to keep changing the setting on the machine. So that's this. My zippers, I do follow Amy Butler's method, and once I learned how to do that, I love it. Hashtag Butler method. It has been the easiest thing for me at this point. She does have a video on her Facebook page, and she's actually done it in a few of her videos with different pouches. If you guys want to go ahead and take a look at those. It's just very, very simple. It's still cornering the end of the zipper, the beginning end of it, like Carissa asks for in the pattern where she wants the zipper to be 90 degrees. So that is the same, it's done, it's just a different way. Carissa actually has it where we kind of fold it like this, and then we stitch it down. Well, I just do it all at one point, all at one time simultaneously, and you're actually watching me do that right now. Let's see. Okay, so what I'm going to do is now start on the other side. So here's my second exterior piece, and I have my double-sided tape up here, and because I'm using the Butler method for the zipper, it just makes my life easy when it comes to placement, and everything has already been marked, so I just line everything up with the zipper. So what I'm doing is now on the opposite end, since I already use ready zippers, I don't have zipper tape right now because I wanted to match these colors. The edge of the zipper gets lined up to the edge of my fabric, and that helps me line up on the top over here. And I'm 5/8 inch away from the edge on this side. Now, both exterior panels, you mark the opposite sides. So if on the panel I'm working on right now, I marked over here, the one that I just finished, I would have marked over here. Because remember, they open this way. So if on this one I marked this side, then on this one I would have marked this side. I mean, it's just a brilliant way to do this. So now my zipper is on there, it's not going to move, and I'm going to grab my lining piece, line that up, and just put in a few clips. Now, my zipper is closed at this point, so that I can stitch down this way, and once I get about 3/4 of the way, I'll open the zipper, and then I'll show you how I do it when I get to the mark. And you'll notice here I'm chain stitching, so I left the other piece on there and I cut it off once I start the next one. Okay, so I'm about 3/4 of the way down. Lift my presser foot and just open the zipper. Now I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this. I'm just going to lift the fabric up on this side to see if you guys could see what I'm doing. I'm going to lift this piece of the zipper, this side of the zipper, and now I'm going to do the 90-degree turn. That mark that I made over here is where my zipper should start. So this is going to be an awkward way to hold this. So when I turn my zipper to the 90 degrees, it's now starting right at the mark. So I bring down my lining piece, just keep holding it there. Make sure everything is lined up. And then I use a scissor or a stiletto, whatever it is that you have, to hold it, just to get it through under the machine. Now I'm going to do that again on the next piece, and I'll show you. Okay. So here on the first panel, my mark was on this side. This is the second panel. This is the one that goes on the other side. So if you notice, now the mark is on the opposite end. That's because when I flip facing together, they're now both on the same sides. And what you're doing is, you're putting your tape all the way to the end, not the side with the mark. The mark is over here. This is where your zipper is going to start. Now this works for ready zippers. I haven't done it with the zipper tape. I think with the zipper tape you need to use tabs, and I hate tabs. So just make the mark over here, 5/8 inch in. The thing is with this is I realized whatever the seam allowance is, you need to adjust where you make your mark. So if the seam allowance is for the pattern 3/8 of an inch, then your mark needs to go in 5/8 of an inch. You should always be 1/4 of an inch away. If your seam allowance is 1/4 of an inch, then you make your mark in at 1/2 an inch. So just adjust it based on whatever your seam allowance is calling for each of the patterns. So now I'm going to remove my double-sided tape on this piece. And I like to keep the piece with the tape down, right side up, and then just carry the piece that has the zipper on it and line it up that way. Okay, and then I grab my lining again. And when you do it this way, when you're lining up your pieces with the zipper, using this butler method, you'll notice that everything lines up all the edges will line up with your fabric. Just make sure you pin everything really well, or clip it so that nothing shifts. Okay, so I started that one, so I cut off the other one. And I try to use my scissor or the stiletto as I go, just to keep the fabric together. And not let it shift. So I'm 3/4 of the way down. Remove my clip. Open the zipper. And again, my mark is over here, so I'm going to make a 90-degree angle. Just hold it down with my thumb, bring back the lining right over it, grab my scissor to hold it, and just run it through the machine. Now I'm going to do the third one in this size. This is my medium size. And I know these zipper ends are flapping everywhere. I cut all that off later. I'll show you in a few minutes. Hey, Lynn. Open the zipper. Hey Carol, I'm making Needle and Anchor's Beachcomber Clutch. Okay, so that's my third one. Again, that's my medium size. So I'm going to close these. So now I have three bags done. I've got the exteriors, the interiors, and I'm ready basically to close this up. So now what I go ahead and I do is I come in and trim the zippers. I don't trim all the way down to the seam. Now, I actually leave about, I want to say 3/4 of an inch on the zipper. And I don't mind if it gets caught in the seam when I sew. It just lets me know that everything is attached and fine. Nothing's going to move with the use of the bag. So I leave those. And I use an old pair of scissors. I don't use my good scissors for this. then any thread that needs to be cleaned up, I do that now because these are all ready for top stitching once I cut the zippers off. Thank you, Carol. I love these colors. Coral is one of my favorites. And these are actually fabrics that I had left over from a quilt top that I finished 2 days ago. And I was just waiting on finding some backing fabric for that quilt, and I did yesterday. So I had a few fat quarters left from the fabric collection, and I honestly don't remember what it's called or where I got it from. So I figured, well, can't make another quilt with a few fat quarters. So I just cut everything up, calculating what I needed or whatever I had most of to use for the bigger panels. And then whatever I had least of, I had different colors, so I was able to match up the top band and the 2 triangles for them. Alright, so now what I do is I just open these up so that my linings are open. And I stack them for now. Don't do anything else to them for now. Well, I don't. I mean, you guys could. Thanks, Carol. Okay, so that was my medium size. The one that I printed at, I think it was 75%. These guys were my minis. So I had already prepped these exactly the way you saw me do these medium ones. But I did them off camera just to kind of speed up the process. So these are all open to the lining, ready for the top stitching by the zipper. So there's these. I'm going to move these over to the side, and these are the big ones. This is the original size that Carissa has done. Now you could adjust these to anything you want. You can, take the original size and go down 80%, 85%. It's all up to you. I don't know if I would actually ever go any smaller than the 45. It is finicky to do, but it's cute. It's nice for like a coin purse, a little coin pouch, maybe some lipstick or something like that. It's cute. And with the foam, I think it's very sturdy to put like a tube of lipstick where you put it in your bag and you don't have to worry about it cracking. Oh, one thing I did forget to tell you guys, on my medium one and my small one, you'll notice the linings, they don't have any pockets. Okay, you're already using a very small zipper on this one. There's no way you're going to be able to fit a pocket on this. On the medium ones, I think you could put in, if you wanted to, maybe put in, let's see, a 6-inch zipper. Yeah. Let's see. Actually, I don't think you could, because with 3/8 of an inch seam, your zipper is going to be very close to the end, and I think it'll be kind of difficult to when the bag is attached and it curves, it's going to be difficult to get to open the zipper. So, I mean, that's not the reason I didn't do it. I didn't do it because I want to sort of make this set as a nesting set where I put the mini inside the medium and put the medium inside the large for it to be a gift. So again, on my large ones, I've already attached everything. I've attached my zippers to one exterior panel with my mark on the front. Usually when I do, I don't know, it's just I'm right-handed and this is easier for me. And besides that, it's a pouch. You could flip it to whether you're right-handed or left-handed. So the zipper opening, I usually put to the left, and that's where I start with my mark. And I let it hang off. I mean, this is a bit much. If you had a zipper that was exactly the measurement of the length of your fabric, it would be fine. Because, so let's say your zipper started here. You're going to, let's do this. So if your zipper started here, you're going to still move it back that much. The only problem is it'll be difficult to kind of grab onto that, and you could use hemostats, you could use a scissor to hold it, but it is kind of finicky to hold just about a 1/2 inch of a zipper. So I like to use longer zippers. So I'm going to open this since I'm about to start it, and then for my large ones, here's my no pocket lining, and here is my pocket lining. Now I already did the pockets on these. Let's see, did I finish them? Okay, I finished 2 of them. I've got one where I semi-attached it, and I'm going to show you how I do it in the back, because I actually birth the bag or the pouch through this pocket. I only do it on the large one because I was able to actually get it through this. So you can turn it because it's foam, and I'll show you how to do one. I won't birth all of them through here, but for the medium one and the small one, I leave an opening in the lining and stitch it the normal way. Alright, so let's see. Actually, let me start with this pocket piece before I do that. So you're going to follow the pattern to attach one side of your pocket and then put the zipper in. And then what I do is I take my second piece of lining for the second pocket piece, and I stitch it to the top. So you see you have plenty of give over here. So I just close the top all the way across, and I leave the zippers open. I always leave all zippers in my bags, pouches. I leave every zipper open. You want to ask why? I'm sure you all know. I'm sorry, I just looked at the comments. I'm sorry if I'm missing them. This is my first live, so I'm not used to... Aslan, yes, the 45 is really cute for coins. I just wouldn't go any smaller. The foam I'm using is... Let's see... Well, I use different ones. There's the sew-in, and then there's the fusible. I personally don't like fusing the foam. I just buy it if it's available, but just don't fuse it to my fabric. And let me explain why. If you notice on my foam, it's the this one is the FF78 F1. It says Flex Foam one-sided fusible. So when I cut this out, what I do is I go to my domestic machine and I do a zigzag stitch around the entire edge of my foam. A couple of reasons. One, it'll reduce the bulk in the seams. And 2, I ran into a problem a while back with a different bag or a pouch that I made when it came to top stitching by the zipper. When it came to top stitching this side over here, I had a very difficult time because my foam was thick, and I do not top stitch with my lining down. In other words, I don't top stitch through the lining. I always open my lining, but I top stitch the seam. So I take that seam and I fold it back and I top stitch the seam down. And that just gives the inside of the bags and pouches a cleaner look. But when I do that, and there's the bulk of the foam in there, the lining tends to kind of curve up, and I don't like that. So to flatten it down, I actually do a zigzag stitch on there. Okay, so that's why I do that. I don't, even if it's fusible, if that's all I can find, I'll buy it, but I don't fuse it. Susie, oh, you're working on an insulated lunch bag? Oh, you can message me about that. And oh, thank you. The steps, that comes by nature. I am by nature a teacher. I taught college English. I was a professor for 10 years. It's just what I do. I teach stamping. Everything I do is teaching. So I teach stamping classes. I teach mini album making. Sewing is not something I actually sit down and teach. I have to admit I am self-taught, so by no means am I an expert at any of this. I still ask questions. The only, I used to tell my students, when they say I have a dumb question, no, there's no dumb question. The only dumb question is the one you don't ask. Sean, yes, I will save this. This is going to stay up. I did my test video yesterday because this is my first live. Vicky, yes. Someone actually, I can't remember what the other suggestion was. Oh, they said trim the foam from that seam. But trimming the foam, you can only get so close to the stitching where it might not come out, and I didn't like that. So I think zigzagging flattens it out, and you're fine. Thanks, Rebecca. All right, so let me get to the lining piece for the original pattern size that has the pocket on it. So again, you're going to follow Carissa's instructions on how to attach the first piece for the pocket onto the face of this lining, and then your zipper goes in. And what I do is I sew the second pocket piece, so here's my second one, to the top. So I just completely stitch it there. And because there's enough room around the entire pattern when it comes to the zipper, so you see there's so much room over here, what I do is I stitch straight down the sides. And when I stitch straight down the sides, I come back across the bottom and I go down and leave my opening. And the reason I go down is I found that when I flip it and I'm ready to stitch that closed, it already kind of leaves this like a fold or a crease in there. So that helps. And you'll see what I mean in a second. Mel, this bag, this pouch is from Needle and Anchor. Where is it? It's the Beachcomber. So it's a Beachcomber Clutch, and it's from Needle and Anchor. Carissa does an amazing job writing her instructions, and they're really easy to follow. So if you want, you just go ahead to Needle and Anchor, and the website is needleandanchor.com. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. I can't tell. And you'll find it there. Alright, so let me get to this. So now to close this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold my lining back. Don't press it down because you don't want to make a crease in your fabric. You're just going to fold it back, like roll it back so it's away from your stitching. And since this doesn't affect the size of your bag, you can make it whatever seam allowance you want. I go in at 3/8 of an inch, and I make sure to backstitch when I start and when I end. But I'm not ending all the way at the bottom because I'm going to turn over. So if I'm doing a 3/8, stop about 3/8, and then you're going to roll this up and turn your fabric. Remember, you need to leave an opening in here, so I only do a few stitches. Now I'm going to turn. This is what I do. I'm going to turn again and come off. Okay. And I don't need to backstitch on this because you're going to close it later. So you're going to take this out. Oh, I was wondering where these guys went. Now I'm going to start from that bottom part. So you'll notice I'm leaving a good amount of space here. Let's see. It's a good 7-inch opening. I'm going to go up a little bit. So remember, you're going to go up however, whatever your seam allowance is. So it's 3/8. Go up to 3/8. And if you eyeball it, it's fine. Just it needs to be very close. So you're going to turn. And remember, stop 3/8 of an inch away from this side. And then you're going to turn the fabric this way and go up this whole side. Now, you see how I have this rolled from underneath so that I don't catch any of this? Well, if you look here, it's going to catch. So what you're going to do is also roll it this way. So roll it in. And when I say roll it, I mean don't pinch or press or fold because you don't want to make creases in your bag at this point. Just kind of maneuver. And if you have everything interfaced, you should be fine. And then you're just going to whip this all the way up to the top. And backstitch. Okay, so my pocket is finished now. Well, it'll actually be completely finished once I turn the bag inside out. So there we go. So here's my pocket, and you'll see that there's a hole in there. That's my opening. Okay, so this is finished. Now, you're going to decide, I mean, I guess this is preference. So if you want to see what side of the clutch you want to put your zipper pocket on the inside, close the zipper for a minute and just picture this. So if I put this right side's facing and I flip this around once it's stitched, the zipper for the inside pocket is on this side, but when my bag is closed, it's on this side. If you don't care about that, it's fine. If you do and you want everything to close the same way, then don't attach your lining piece with the zipper pocket to the front piece. I'm going to call this the front piece. You're going to attach it to the back piece, if that makes any sense. So what I do so that I remember them is, remember the marks that I was talking about that I make? So on the back piece of the exterior fabric, my mark is on the right. I make sure that I only mark my pocket lining piece on the right hand side, so I know that I'm going to put this facing this panel. Okay? So for now, I need to grab a plain lining piece and attach it to this one. Okay. Mel, no, this pattern is not free. If you go to Needle and Anchor's shop, I think she does have a free pattern in there. I can't remember which one. Don't take my word for it. Does anybody know if Carissa has a free pattern in there? I thought it was like a little clutch with a curve on the bottom. Can't remember the name of it. But this clutch is not free. It is a paid pattern. That's why I don't give out measurements or anything. I'm just giving you my take. I tell you, like, the measurements I give you are things that I change. So like the 7-inch opening, that's a preference thing. It's not anything that's in the pattern specifically. So you would have to go in there and purchase the pattern. It's very, very, very well worth it, Mel. Alright, so again, I've clipped my no pocket lining piece to my front exterior. I'm going to turn my zipper the 90 degrees to the mark that I made, put down my lining, and hold it with my scissor or stiletto if you have one. I just grab whatever's next to me and go ahead and start stitching. Okay, I'm nearing where I left my zipper open. So I'm going to go ahead and close the zipper on this side so I can finish this off. And just go straight down. Okay, so now with these, what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish each bag rather than chain stitch because I've got too much stuff around here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this off. Okay, I'm going to trim this and start on the other side. Okay. Just kind of finger press this so it's out of your way. You don't have to really do anything to it right now. And clean up your threads. Okay, so then I take this and remove my tape. And again, since now my mark is on the opposite side, I could just take the end of the zipper that I have. Remember, these are ready zippers that I'm using. I'm not using a zipper tape. And I just line this up. Okay, and at this point my zipper is closed until I get to about 3/4 of the way, and then I open it. So when you're sewing each side, on one side you're going to start with the zipper open and then close it when you get to the end, And then on the other side, you're going to start with the zipper closed and open it when you get to the end. So now, since on the first one we attached the no pocket, on this one, we're going to attach the pocket. And I know some people like to use double-sided tape for everything. I don't. I like it for the zippers, and that's about it. I do use score tape. It is my favorite because as a scrapbooker, mini album maker, card maker, it's the best. And I know my zipper's not going to move, but it is on the expensive side, so I just don't use it for everything. Alright, so here we go. Okay, now it's getting finicky and uncomfortable, so I'm just going to lift my foot and open the zipper. I'm going to go a little further before I turn the zipper. Okay. So now I'm going to lift the zipper up, turn it the 90 degrees to the mark, bring my lining down and just finish. There we go. Hi Lejeune, how are you holding up? You guys got it instead of me. It was initially supposed to hit me first. I'm in Broward County in Florida. Oh, hey Carla from North Carolina, how are you? Are you guys holding up okay? Alright, so my first clutch is done, ready for top stitching by the zipper and to be closed. So there's my inside. Remember, open my zipper. And there's my outside. So I'm not going to top stitch right now. I'm going to do that all at the end so I could do all 9 together. Alright, so here's my front panel for the next one. And I'm attaching it to a no pocket lining piece. Oh, good, Carla. Glad you guys are safe. We had our kids out for an extra day of school just to be sure, because they're not allowed to let them on the buses because of the wind. But that was the extent of it. We did have a lot of rain. We live where in the backyard there's a canal behind us, and it's just strange every time hurricane season comes around when they drain it. It's got to come down real low, otherwise we would be flooding also. But there was a lot of rain, some wind, it wasn't too bad, but the last 2 days have been excruciatingly hot. It is so hot outside that you could barely breathe when you're out there. But that's what happens after hurricanes, at least down here. Thanks, Carla. Yeah, I love these colors. They're just really soft, and I actually bought these in a bunch of fat quarters, and I made a quilt a baby, not really a baby quilt, I want to say a child size quilt. And I just had a few fat quarters left. Oh, good, Lejeune. Thank God you guys are safe too. I just feel so bad for the Bahamas. And I say thank God. You know, you have to thank God every day for everything. But initially, when that hurricane was coming directly for us, Broward County, and then they said West Palm Beach, I can't imagine that devastation. Alright, now it's getting tight, so let me close the zipper. Oh, Carla, you're a New Yorker too? So am I. I want to go back home. I don't want to stay here. Now, if you notice the zipper ends, I only cut them off after I attach that side to the lining. So you see on this one, I've already attached the lining so I can trim it. Don't trim anything off of this, not until you attach it to the lining. Alright, so just press this back. And then grab your back exterior and remove your tape. Oh, my favorite season, Carla. No, I love the snow. I love anything other than Florida weather. Why, you ask? Because you can always get warm, but there's only so much you could take off in the heat. Alright, so I've attached this to the exterior back, and now I grab a pocket lining. Alright, I'm just going to go a little farther before I turn the zipper. So my lining is attached, so I could trim this. So 2 exteriors and 2 linings. So now when I close the pocket zipper, it's closed over here, just, let's do it this way. It's closed on this side, just like the bag closes on this side. But remember, leave these open if you want to berth the bag like I do. So see, there's a hole in there. So now when I stitch these closed, they're going to get stitched closed completely on the outside. The only opening you'll have is the pocket. Alright, so we've got 2 large down, and now I'm on the last one. Alright, zipper to the front, no pocket. Okay, so open my zipper, because I have to turn it on this end. Okay, close the zipper. Hi Jacqueline, hi Jenna. I'm making Needle and Anchor's Beachcomber Clutch. I had the pattern in my hand a second ago. This is Carissa's pattern, and I love it. It's such an easy sew, and it doesn't take a really long time. Okay, so this is the pattern, and the website is needleandanchor.com. Alright, so press this back and bring in the final back piece. Put this down, and then our last pocket lining, and we're going to clip this. Jenna, yes, the tote is cute, but I'm working on the clutch, the small one. Okay, I'm going to turn my zipper. And we're done with this. Okay, remember I'm going to keep my zipper open for the pocket, otherwise I'll never get the bag open. And close the outside for now because I'm going to do my top stitching. One thing I forgot to mention is in Carissa's original pattern, you notice she has the wristlet strap and the little tab connector here. Now, I'm only putting it on the original size, which is the biggest one out of the 3 that I'm making. I'm not going to put the tab connector and the strap on the other 2. And I already have them pre-made. So I have my straps and my little D-ring connector. On the photo that you have in the instructions, Carissa used probably a gate ring here, and the gate rings actually are round and they kind of open inwards. So you could just put it through the little tab that you put here if you want. Now I don't have any, I ran out. So simple adjustment, just do a little D-ring tab and you're going to be able to hook it with these. That's it. Okay, so before you close the bags, you got to remember to attach these guys. The wristlet straps don't matter, those are attached at the end when you wear it. So I'm going to put those back aside, and I'm going to keep these little connector tabs in front of me so I don't forget them. But right now I have to top stitch. So I'm going to turn my machine up to 4 for the stitch length, and I'm going to start top stitching my big ones. And I think I will chain stitch because it's just faster, even though I have a lot of stuff in my way. Remember, I don't top stitch through my lining, so open the lining away from your exterior panel. So you're only going to top stitch through the front and your foam. So what I do is I pull it out of the way, and for me personally, I find it easier if the zipper is closed. And here's the seam allowance. I make sure that the seam allowance is under my top stitching, so I want it to come down. So when I start my stitching, I make sure my hand is under there pushing it. So I do that. Just keep it pressed until I get it under my presser foot. And then I put my hand underneath to come down here and kind of hold down a little more, just so I have a little give to start. And you're just going to keep going back in there and giving yourself some leeway by pressing down. And the zigzagging of that foam helps so much with this. And I do go kind of slow with my top stitching. I don't do it really fast because top stitching is top stitching and it really needs to look pretty. I don't know if you guys could see it from back here, but maybe when I cut this one off, I'll show it to you. So I top stitched this side, And since I'm going to chain stitch, I won't top stitch this side until I get through them. So here's one. Bring in my second one. Now remember when I said I don't cut these zippers all the way down. Now when I top stitch, there's another anchor for that zipper. If it happens to land this way, then I top stitched it as an anchor and it lands in my seam. If it happens to just sit down here and not end up over here, I'm not going to worry about moving it. It's fine, but that's a second anchor for it. That's why I don't cut these guys all the way down. So I'm just going to press this in. Remember, your lining is out of the way. And that's just a preference for me. I mean, everybody's different. Okay, so now I can cut the first one off. Okay, show you the top stitching. Do you see the top stitching? That's why I go slow. Okay. I'm going to move the first one over to the side because we still have to top stitch the second side of it. Okay. I'm actually not going to finish all 9 of them on camera. I'm just going to do the same thing to all of them. So what I'm going to do is finish the first one that I top stitch on one side, finish that, and then close this one completely so you guys know what I'm talking about when I say birth it through the pocket. And then I'll do the rest off camera. And I do just keep putting my hand underneath to check that that seam allowance is getting caught in my top stitching. Okay, so my top stitching is all done, and normally I would just keep chain stitching all of these, but I do want to actually finish one of them in front of you so that you guys could see. So what you're going to do is clip. This is where the difference is between what I'm doing and what usual closing a bag is. I'm going to clip the entire lining. Usually we leave an opening in the lining, but on my medium and small ones, I will do that. I will keep an opening, so I won't stitch the entire thing. But on this one, because I'm going to birth it through the pocket, I'm going to stitch the entire bag all the way around. And I am clipping the lining first for a reason. I usually clip the lining just to catch, and then what I do is I check to make sure that my edges, the seams, connect for the exterior, and then I clip that. Because if you know that those are lined up, then you're good. So the next section I make sure is lined up is the triangles. So over here where they start, I make sure that seam is lined up. And I know it's really close to the top where the zipper is, but I still put a clip on there. Now I have the bottom of the triangles. Make sure those are lined up. And clip that too. Okay, and now I'm going to come to the other side and do the same thing. So just turn the bag. Clip. Maria, are you talking about this yellow one? Yes, that's exactly what it is. It's a piece of ribbon, and I change it every so often. Because I have arthritis, it's just easier for me to do that. And it looks like it's time to change it because I accidentally cut one side. But that's what it's there for. And then I just do that. Okay, so my bag is clipped all the way around. And here's my opening. Okay, now you're going to see that it's kind of tight to get this whole thing through this, but it's doable. Nothing will happen. You're not going to rip your bag. You can watch me do it, but if you think that it's not something you want to try, don't do it. Just leave an opening in your lining, and when you finish your pocket, where I showed you to leave this opening, just stitch all the way across. Just close it off. And then you leave the opening in your lining, and rather than sew the whole thing, you're going to start here, stitch around, and stop here. But you need to remember to leave the zipper to the pouch open. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm actually going to start on the lining. And the seam allowance is 3/8. Bring my stitch length back down to 2.5. And when I get to the curves, I slow down. Oh, you know, I forgot something. Okay, but at least I just remembered. And we can fix that. Okay. I forgot to add my little tab. Thank God I didn't stitch through my exterior side. Where's my zipper? Okay, so my zipper's on this end. Don't take the bag out of the machine, just leave it there if you do this. So my zipper closes on this side, so I'm going to attach this and and you're going to attach it where the D-ring is on the inside of the bag. Make sure you put it in where you have enough clearance for your 3/8 seam allowance. Once you do that, you're going to reline everything and put your clips back on. Okay. Thank you, Carla. Okay, so now I need to jump from my lining to the exterior where all the foam is. And I know that there's like a thing that you guys can buy. I think it's called a hump jumper or whatever it is. It's like a piece of plastic that you put under your presser foot. Well, guess what? I don't have one. So I took scraps of leather, 4 layers, sewed them together. And now I have 4 thicknesses of jumping. So however thick my fabric is, I just kind of lift. So there's 2 layers underneath. Let's see if that'll move my... There we go. That's it. You don't need to go buy fancy tools or anything. Okay, I'm coming down to a corner, so I'm going to slow down. Make sure I get my curves. Another corner, so just slow it down, because you do want to keep that 3/8 of a seam allowance. You don't want that to change, not even on your curves. Alright, so now we're going to be careful, because remember I have the little D-ring connector in here. So you want to make sure that when you remove your clip, you're still kind of pressing down over here, at least to hold the D-ring so that it doesn't move. Just make sure your finger is not in the way of the needle. Okay, so see, my machine won't go. So now I need my handy dandy jumper, and I think for this one I'm going to use 3. Lift my foot, stick it in there, and there we go. And then it just pops out by itself. See? And you just go on and finish. So my two thread tails that are over here for where I started, I just leave those there. I don't cut them off, and I'm going to show you why. So now, because remember, I'm not I'm not turning it through the lining, I'm turning it through that pocket. I'm going to just zip straight past that starting stitch that I did. So I don't even have to back stitch here. If you're uncomfortable not back stitching, just go ahead, put in a couple stitches. Take that off. Now you can cut everything. Alright, so now this is closed. There's no opening anywhere except in my pocket. Oh, guess what, guys? Farida forgot to leave the main zipper open. Exactly what I said not to do. Alright, so we're going to do this. Well, actually, it's what I said to do. Leave it open, but I left it closed. I said I always leave everything open. Alright, so we're going to undo some stitches on the side where the zipper is closed. Just so I could get in there and open it. You don't have to undo the entire bag. Very carefully. And I love these Tula Pink scissors. The tip is so small, you could just get in there. Now remember, the D-ring connector is here. I'm not going to unstitch anywhere near down there. So I'm just unstitching right above it, if you guys could see. Just you could use a seam ripper. That's enough for me. I didn't even do more than 1/2 inch. See the opening? And just push my zipper. Alright, starting to move. And if you need to get something in there to hold that. Yeah. So I took my scissor, and what I did was I caught my scissor in the little hole in here and I pushed it down. And once you start it, you could stick your hand back into the pocket and push the zipper open the rest of the way. Cynthia, what do you mean? You say, I never did this in all the 7 years I've sewn bags. What do you mean you haven't done this? Those of you who are still looking at what I'm trying to do, I'm still trying to open the zipper a little more. Alright. Okay, so now I'm halfway through. Done. Okay, so I'm going to restitch. So since I opened the side right up to above where my tab connector is, I'm going to stitch over it again and then come back down here. So put this back in. And I don't need this guy because I'm right over the tab connector. Okay. And I'm going to come past where I started ripping out the seam. And if you're still not comfortable, just back stitch. Well, that goof I just made shows everybody you can still fix something. All right. Oh, Cynthia, I've done it before, and you know, this is my first live, so talking and working is not something I'm used to for doing this and paying attention to comments and things. So I specifically said at the beginning, I said I always leave all zippers open no matter what. And what did I do? I left the main zipper closed. All right, so I've got my hand in the opening for the pocket, and we're going to start squishing this, and I start with the corners. Okay. Oh, one thing. You need to trim this, trim the tab. And I apologize now if I'm off camera, but I'll try my best. So you see, I'm holding the pocket open this way, and I'm using my thumbs to push the corners and the exterior through the pocket. See what's happening? And now, guess what? Magic. There's my bag. And then just push the seams, stick your hand in there. And you see how nice and flat this is because we zigzagged the foam, the edges of the foam. And then push everything out. Make sure you push the end of the zipper out, the corner, and you're going to see how perfect this zipper comes out with the method that I used. Okay. All right, here's my outside. Now I have this hot mess over here. Just push the lining in through the pocket. Okay. Okay, fix the lining on the inside. Just push it into the corners so everything sits real nice. And now I have my pocket. It's still open. I would rather, anytime I have a bag that has a pocket, do it this way. As long as the pocket is big enough for me to get the bag through, then actually see the stitching on the bottom of the inside of my lining. Now, on the other two sizes I'm making, I will see it down here, but that's fine. Those are too small for me to add a pocket. But for this one, I now get to do this. Just fix the corners of your pocket. Just push them out with your fingers. Okay, so now you have the corners. And remember the stitch where we went down off the piece of fabric? Well, this is what happens. When you pull, it kind of already gives you the fold inwards. So you just fix that, and you can hand press it. Use your fingers. If you want to clip it, go ahead and clip it. And you're just going to stitch this closed. Alright, so there's my pocket. I'm going to tuck it back in. There we go. And I'm going to zip that pocket and then push my lining back. And there's my clutch. Now I have some cleaning up to do here because I had to seam rip. There was just one piece of thread. There's one here. There we go. Well, here's the clutch. It's finished. And so you guys could see the zipper. Let's see if I could turn the light over for you guys. See how nice that zipper corner comes out? So there's the tab, and there's the strap. And if you want to give this another press, you could go ahead and do that. I'm going to do that after I finish everything. And I'm good to go. So now I've got two more big ones to finish, and I have the medium and the small. Alright. So, just want to see if that was helpful to you guys. If you haven't already gotten this pattern, you guys can go ahead and head on over to Needle and Anchor and grab her pattern. Any questions for me? Cynthia, yeah, I mean, I know it can be fixed even if you close the whole thing. It's just when I first started out, the first time I did it, I wasn't paying attention and I didn't realize that, okay, I could just seam rip on one side, and I went ahead and I ripped out the entire roundabout around the bag. And afterwards, once I got to the end, I said, oh, whoops, I should have just done one side. Jenna, yeah, slowing down, better safe than sorry. It's a lot easier to slow down and try to not mess up than to mess up and have to undo something. It's always more difficult to have to fix something you broke than actually doing it right the first time. Well, I mean, I hope this was helpful to everybody. Thank you to Carissa McNaught for her nice, amazing, easy, beautiful pattern. And thanks to Amy Butler for her zipper method. Love it. Never going back. You could check out her videos. Both Carissa and Amy each have a group on Facebook. You could look them up. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.